What if the dirtiest, most overlooked coins in your pocket change? Imagine digging through a jar of old, worn copper Lincoln pennies, dark, scratched, and forgotten, only to discover that one of them, these aren't just coins, they're hidden treasures with stories of rare minting errors, historic transitions, and collector obsession, from mysterious misprints to ultra-rare dates that slipped through unnoticed. Today, we're talking about one of the most mysterious, shocking, and valuable coins ever discovered in pocket change, the 1969's Lincoln penny, a coin surrounded by confusion, government warnings, and a hidden treasure story that still blows collectors' minds to this day. Picture this: it's the late 1960s. America is in turmoil, the economy is shifting, and millions of pennies are being struck every single day. But deep inside the minting process, something goes horribly wrong, a mistake so rare, so unusual, that when people first found it, they thought it was fake. In fact, the error was so shocking that the Secret Service actually got involved. Yes, over a penny. People who discovered these coins were accused of counterfeiting. Some were even investigated. Imagine finding what you think is a lucky coin, only to be told you might be in serious trouble. But then, everything changed. Experts finally confirmed it: this wasn't fake. This was a real mint error, and one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever created. Now here's where things get really exciting. That coin, the legendary 1969's double die obverse Lincoln penny, has sold for jaw-dropping amounts. We're talking $35,000 to $75,000, and one example reportedly pushing toward $100,000 depending on condition. That's not just big money, that's life-changing value from a single penny. So what makes this coin so incredibly valuable? Let's break it down, because this is where you need to pay very close attention. You might actually have one. First, the date. You're looking for 1969, and just below that date, you must see a small S mint mark. That S means it was minted in San Francisco. No S. Then it's not the one we're hunting. But here's the twist: the mint mark itself is not doubled. That's one of the biggest clues. If the mint mark is doubled, it's probably a fake or a different type of error. Now look at the front of the coin, the obverse. This is where the magic happens. On a genuine 1969's double die, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are dramatically doubled. And I don't mean a tiny blur. I mean strong, bold, unmistakable doubling. It almost looks like the letters are shadowed or stamped twice, slightly off. Even the date, 1969, itself shows clear doubling. This is not machine doubling. This is a true double die, created during the die-making process itself. That's why it's so rare, and why collectors go crazy for it. Now here's another shocking twist. Many of these coins were found in circulation, meaning they were spent like normal pennies. Some were scratched, dirty, or worn, what collectors would call old dirty coins. And guess what? Even in worn condition, these coins can still be worth thousands of dollars. That's right, even if your coin looks rough, don't dismiss it. That old dirty look might actually mean it's been quietly sitting in circulation for decades, waiting to be discovered. Let's reset your attention with something wild. One collector reportedly found a 1969's double die penny in a roll of coins, just casually searching through bank rolls. Imagine that moment, flipping through pennies, and suddenly spotting that bold doubling. That's the kind of hidden treasure story that keeps collectors searching day and night. But be careful, because where there's big money, there are also fakes. This coin has been heavily counterfeited. Some people try to create fake doubling using tools or chemicals. Others alter dates or mint marks. So how to identify? Do you protect yourself? Look closely at the quality of the doubling. Real double dies have clean, separated lines, not blurry or smeared edges. Also, check the spacing. On genuine coins, the doubling is consistent across multiple elements, letters, numbers, and spacing all match. Let me tell you a story that still shocks collectors to this day. Back in 1982, something strange happened at the US Mint. It was a year of confusion, transition, and, most importantly, mistakes. The price of copper was rising fast, and the government made a huge decision: stop making pennies out of solid copper and switch to cheaper zinc. Sounds simple, right? But here's where things get mysterious. During that transition, multiple versions of the 1982 penny were struck. Different metals. Different dates. Different mint marks. And hidden among millions of ordinary coins, a few rare combinations slipped through, coins that were never supposed to exist. One of those coins is the 1982 small date copper Lincoln penny. And if you find one, you're not holding a penny. You're holding hidden treasure. Now here's where it gets shocking. Experts once believed that a 1982 penny made of copper with a small date didn't even exist. The Denver Mint had already switched to zinc for that version. So for years, collectors assumed, impossible. Until one day. A collector weighed a 1982 small date penny and noticed something was off. It was heavier. Not zinc, but copper. That single discovery sent shockwaves through the coin world. Because if one existed, there could be more. And today, that exact coin has sold for over $18,000 in auction. Yes, for a penny. Now imagine this. How many people have old jars of coins sitting at home? How many dirty pennies get ignored every single day? That's why this coin is so powerful. It hides in plain sight. Let's slow down for a second, because this is where your opportunity begins. If you want to find one of these rare coins, you need to know exactly what to look for. First, the date. You're looking for 1982. But not just any 1982, this year had multiple varieties. You need the small date version. So how do you tell? Look closely at the numbers. On the small date, the 2 in 1982 has a delicate, curved shape, and the overall date looks tighter and more compact. The large date version looks bolder, thicker, and easier to read. Now here's the second detail, and this is critical. The mint mark. You need to see a D under the date. That means it was minted in Denver. So now you have 1982 small date with a D. Sounds simple, right? But here's where things get intense. The third step is the most important of all. You must check the metal. Because the rare coin, the one worth big money, is made of copper, not zinc. And the difference? Weight. A copper penny weighs about 3.1 grams. A zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. That's it. That tiny difference is the line between a common coin and a life-changing value. So if you find a 1982 small date penny and it weighs 3.1 grams, you might be holding one of the rarest modern pennies ever discovered. Now let me hit you with another shocking twist. Even heavily worn, old, dirty examples coins most people would throw away can still be worth thousands if they match this combination. Condition matters, yes, but rarity matters more. And this coin is incredibly rare. Some experts believe only a handful exist. Think about that. Millions of pennies made, but only a few with this exact combination. That's like finding a needle in a haystack, except this needle could pay your bills, your mortgage, even change your life. But wait, it gets even crazier. There are other valuable 1982 penny varieties too. For example, the 1982 small date copper penny without a mint mark, those can sell for hundreds to thousands depending on condition. The 1982 large date copper pennies less rare, but still valuable in high grades. And certain error coins from 1982 like double dies or off-center strikes can also bring in serious money. But none of them create the same level of excitement as the 1982 small date copper. Because again, it wasn't supposed to exist. And collectors love coins with mystery. Coins with mistakes. Coins that slipped through the cracks of history. Now let's talk about real money, because this is where it becomes real. One verified example of the 1982 D small date copper penny sold for over $18,000. What if I told you that a old, dirty, 1983 D copper Lincoln penny could secretly be worth tens of thousands, even life-changing money, and most people would never notice it? I'm serious. Somewhere right now, sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even your pocket, there could be a hidden treasure disguised as a worthless, brown, worn-out coin. And today, we're diving into one of the most shocking modern coin mysteries, the 1983 D Lincoln penny, specifically the old, dirty, copper version that should not exist. Because this coin was never supposed to be made. Back in 1982, the U.S. Mint made a major change. Rising copper prices forced them to switch the Lincoln penny from solid copper to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper coating. By 1983, every single penny struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a D, was supposed to be zinc. That's the official story. But here's where things get mysterious. A handful of 1983 D pennies have been discovered that are not zinc, they're solid copper. And if you find one, you're not holding 1 cent. You're holding big money. We're talking values from $10,000 to $20,000, even pushing towards 6 figures depending on condition. Let that sink in. A coin people ignore every day could literally change your life. Now here's the twist that makes this even more exciting. These rare coins don't look shiny and perfect. In fact, they usually look old, dark, dirty, and completely ordinary. Which means most people who've seen one probably spent it without ever realizing. And that's exactly why you need to pay attention to what I'm about to show you. Because identifying this coin is simple, but missing it is even easier. First, grab any 1983 penny. Now look closely. Does it have a D mint mark under the date? If yes, good. You're in the right place. But here's where the real test begins. You need to check the weight. A normal 1983 D zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But the rare copper version, it weighs around 3.1 grams. That small difference is everything. Because that weight confirms you're holding a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet, a mint error so rare, it was never meant to leave the facility. And here's where things get even crazier. There have been verified auction sales of these error coins reaching over $35,000, and experts believe even higher prices are possible as demand grows. That's not hype. That's real, documented big money. Now pause for a second. Imagine dumping out your spare change tonight, and finding one of these. That's the kind of hidden treasure we're talking about. But wait, because there's more. Not all valuable 1983 D pennies are copper. There are other rare errors that collectors are hunting like crazy. One of the most famous. The 1983 double die reverse. This is where the lettering on the back, especially 1 cent and United States of America, appears doubled. And not slightly doubled. We're talking bold, dramatic doubling you can see with your eyes. Coins with this error have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on condition. Yes, even if they're dirty. Even if they've been sitting in a jar for decades. Now let me reset your attention with something shocking. One collector reportedly found a rare 1983 error penny mixed in a handful of loose change from a gas station. He paid 1 cent. And later sold it for over $7,000. That's the power of knowing what to look for. That's the difference between ordinary and life-changing value. So let's break it down even further, step by step. You've got your 1983 D penny. First, check the color. Most zinc pennies have a lighter, dull appearance, sometimes with spots or corrosion. But copper pennies? They tend to have a richer brown tone, sometimes even a reddish hue if preserved. Second, look at the edge and rim. Copper coins often show smoother, more solid edges. Zinc coins can sometimes show signs of bubbling or plating wear. Third, and most important, weigh it. No scale. Get one. Because this single step can turn a worthless coin into a hidden treasure worth thousands. And here's another shocking fact. Even damaged or circulated versions of rare error coins can still bring in big money. Collectors don't just want perfection. They want rarity. And rarity is exactly what this coin delivers. Now let's talk about condition for a moment. If your coin is in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost brand new, it can multiply the value dramatically. We're talking the difference between $10,000 and potentially $50,000 or more depending on rarity and demand. Yes, that's real. And yes, it has happened. Auction houses and private collectors are constantly searching for these coins because so few have been confirmed. That means every new discovery sends shockwaves through the coin community. And that means opportunity, for you. But here's the part most people get wrong. They assume valuable coins must look perfect. Shiny. Clean. Untouched. That's a mistake. Some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were described as old, dirty, or worn. Exactly like the one you might have sitting at home right now. So don't ignore your change. Don't overlook that dull brown penny. Because it might not be what it seems. It might be a mistake from the US Mint. A rare survivor from a production error. A hidden treasure waiting to be discovered.